Hello, everyone. It's Cheryl Millett here, live at 5, Mondays on Facebook. And sorry, I've had some complications here. I didn't realize that there were some security changes on Facebook. So if you haven't seen the last 2 weeks video, that's really why. And it's really the only reason why, because I actually did the videos anyway. But in having people look at my Facebook page, they weren't seeing the videos from the last 2 weeks. So I don't know if this applies to anybody else, but hi, Ivan. But the security in Facebook either changed and I had to go in and adjust it. But that's the only reason why you really haven't got any alerts, or even if you've looked at my page, you would not have even seen the last 2 videos. For some odd reasons. So anybody else has any issues with people seeing their information on their page, you can actually go on to somebody else, or somebody else go onto their page and see if they can see everything. You can't see everything. So it was very interesting, but it's there, and I do not know how to make the other videos public. So there you go. Hi, Ivan. Hi, Annette. Yeah, I have to kind of jump in here. It's not a planned conversation for this part here, but what's kind of coming up a lot lately is, which is great, is the feelings of fear. And it's kind of tying more and more into the anxiety. And there's fears, fears of what's going to happen, fears that this can happen. And I have to say, if everybody can just take a page, take a piece of paper and write love on one side and fear on the other side, you're going to find that everything that you're anxious about, or anything that you have negative emotions about, there's going to be an underlying fear. And the things where you feel happy, you feel joy, positive feelings are going to be, there's going to be some love there if you ask the right questions. So there's only either or that you can be working with your feelings and emotions. But the important thing is to feel the feelings and emotions. And time again, working with people is for them to understand their feelings, and to kind of bring it to how it is important for them and trail it back as far as we can go, hopefully to the very first time where these things come up. And this is where we start to see things for what they really are. So you can imagine having a space that's in pitch black, and if things are in the dark, they're in the dark. You can't see them, and you don't even know they're there. But once you turn the light or become aware of something, in this case your feelings, then it's different. It's a completely different story. And a lot of cases when we think about being anxious, or whatever it is, and the anticipation of it or so forth, and that's all has to do with past coming into the future. Something happened in the past. Like, for instance, it could be as simple as a bee. You've got stung by a bee when you were a child, so now you're fearful of the bees. You didn't like that pain, whatever it was about it. And so therefore, you see a bee, you hear a bee, somebody says there's a bee, and you freak out. Now, that's not a little bit about in the future, but that's kind of bringing it into the now. But you can bring it into the now, but it's something of the future that you're not looking forward to. But I just wanted to kind of bring that up because fears keep coming up. Hi, Fred. Hi, Pat. So fears keep coming up, and really they are important. So you would like to think you have a closet and you can just put in all your icky stuff. Seriously, a lot of people kind of do that when they don't want to face them or look at them. And you just imagine you have a closet, or you have that drawer, and anything that kind of happens, you can justify why it happened, perhaps, or not, feels to, and you just want to you just want to throw them in the drawer and not look at them. And that is so opposite from actually getting to the bottom of it. So if I use that phrase, getting to the bottom of it, doesn't mean it goes in the drawer, doesn't mean it goes in your closet. It means it has to come out. You got to open the drawer, you got to open the closet, you got to turn on the light, and we have to look at them. We have to look at them even if they feel uncomfortable. And sometimes, I will say that, just because they're there and just because you think you have to be vulnerable and just because everybody else talks about them, you don't necessarily have to do that. There's actually ways to work with certain things like this if you've got the tools on your own. So it's not about just telling everybody about your, shit, if we have to call it that. And it's gaining those tools and gaining the understanding that will bring all of us into a better, peaceful place. Maybe some things are easier to pull out of the closet and to look at. And then as time goes on, other things are going to crop up, and those things will have to be dealt with. But it just seems so important. And the other aspect of it is being grounded is very important to really, and then this is where sometimes certain things you've had, tools you've listened to, even doing the gratitude journal or something like that is actually a tool. It kind of shifts your focus there, or shifts your energy for first thing in the morning. But again, that can mean you're just trying to put things in the closet, or they're staying in the closet. So we just, in some ways, there's questions where people ask, I've had enough, how come it keeps coming up, blah, blah. And there's reasons for that, because we've got to look at them. And there's more about that, and happy to help people with that. But the idea, the idea is we just have to deal with it. There's nothing wrong with dealing with it. It's actually can be quite, how can I say, freeing, releasing. It's like having a good cry. It's a little bit to like that. You have a good cry and you feel better. But we just don't have to cry in front of everybody. And, if it happens, we don't have to feel crazy about it. Because listen, there's so many people out there that are just like everyone, and all of us, where you go through your stuff, you deal with it, you grow from it, you maybe look at it a different way. We're all on different journeys, and it just so happens I do the counseling, consulting stuff. So it's been a journey for me. That's just who I am. But I can't say everybody's kind of in that boat to be able to deal with their own stuff. But they can, and we do. But, you have to feel it out, be good to yourself, be kind to yourself is probably extremely important in any of these situations. Is don't beat yourself up over, over things. I know there's that saying, don't sweat the small stuff. But sometimes those small things can actually lead to more of the underlying emotions and feelings you don't want to feel, and it can be helpful. As far as talking goes, because some people really don't want to look at their stuff, really don't want to look. But this gets to understanding why we get sick and why some people get sick earlier, besides the DNA and the constitution, because truly through the iridology, we can see, iridologists can see, if there is a weak constitution. You were born with a system that does not have the same strength or integrity there. And those people, 100% of the time, I've never had any questions on this. It's, they're more susceptible to things going on, but it doesn't mean they can't build their system up and work with it. They just have to work with it a little differently. So constitution is very, very important to understand, and some will just guess it, right? But the eye shows it, the iris shows it so clear, but there's other clues, absolutely, to kind of figure that out. But getting to, we got the fears, right? We got the constitution. And then next to that, we're going to look at, why do we have the symptoms we have? Why aren't we feeling well? Why are these, headaches happening? all the different things that we can question. And some people just put it in the bucket of aging. And I have shared with so many people over the years just to get their kind of comment. Did you know you can get rid of a cavity without getting it drilled out? Do you know that you can improve your eyesight to get rid of your reading glasses or to never have reading glasses? And these are the things that, the third one is, did you know that you can grow nerves back that are damaged nerves where we once thought we could not? Damaged brains, okay, that's it. You only have so many neurons. And all these untrue things are floating around in a lot of people's minds, if not a tremendous amount of people's minds. And it's just not true. So you have to, at one level, understand what is possible. What is possible? And that is the other thing. So you've got the fears over here. Fears, I don't want to get cancer like my mother. I don't want to, even just go on the disease side. So I don't want to get a heart attack like my brother and my sister and so forth. And then you have the Constitution. We've got to factor that in. And then, we have other things going on with the symptoms and why it's actually happening, which could be either or. But it's critical here to actually understand that the mind body, because they're connected, they also are connected with your health. Every time, I'm going to give you an example. My daughter's probably not going to see this video. And I'll give you an example. So my daughter started grade 9, and all of the kids, especially her good friends, were not going to the same big high school. And her older sibling wasn't there either. And she comes to me. What I've noticed, actually, just listening to the symptoms, she didn't ask me any questions. She was cold. It's cold in here. We're going to put the heat on. And it wasn't crazy cold. And that's just not even her either. So about 10 days in, or a week and a half in, she says to me, "Mom, I'm waking up every morning with a stomach ache." A stomach ache. So I said, "Can I ask you a couple of questions?" I asked her kind of just to rule out things, as in, are you sleeping? Are you sleeping? "Yep, Mom, I'm sleeping great." Are you, are anything going on with digestion or elimination? Because you can get belly aches and stuff if there's constipation or something there. So I ruled out a few things, just getting her participate in the conversation too. And I said, "Well, you're in a new school, and you're eating, and these things are happening. So I think it's just nerves. And it's completely possible that it's just your nerves, because it's new, because it's, you don't have any of your friends, you're making new friends, you're feeling your way around, you got to find this, that, and you're thinking about all these things." And so I just gave her a tool, a breathing tool. I also gave her the understanding of why it was happening. And the very next day, because later in the day, the next day, I asked her, "Did you wake up with a belly ache, a stomach ache?" And she said, "No, Mom, no, Mom." And I haven't heard her complain about cold ever since. So we got to understand how things are so connected. And it's important to understand that all disease, cancer, diabetes, everything is still the mind-body connection. I haven't come across anything where it's not, unless it's a physical trauma. And then a physical trauma is a different story, because you've got these injuries, right? You've got these injuries. And injuries can be even vaccine injuries, right? So that's a physical thing. You get that in. It could be vaccine injuries. But surely mental trauma and the worry and all those feelings, emotions I was talking about initially will have an absolute play on your health. No question about it. And when people ask me more about the mind and how it plays, just understand the placebo effect, because the placebo effect in science is used, not understood. And I talked to somebody in the walk club the other on Sunday, and they absolutely don't understand, but they absolutely use it, right? Double-blind study. Okay, you're all getting these pills, they look alike, but one isn't the medicine and one is, yet the people who take the one that really isn't, gets the exact same effect that they want to get from the medicine. So placebo effect can be used in so many ways. It's not to be thrown out with with the bathtub water. It's not to be thrown. It's to understand what's happening with the placebo effect and how that actually ties into feelings and emotions. To tell you the truth, there's actually an explanation to go into that, but I'm not gonna talk about that. But here's the other key thing. So I'm going to leave that to the side. If you're just coming on and you want to kind of listen to that, it's all about kind of disease in a very surface, as dust is on the surface. It's just wiping the surface with that and kind of connecting things here. I mean, Live at 5 to me is really about trying to connect these dots. The other thing, bonsoir. The other thing I want to say is it's starting to come up more and more with diets, and I'm going to talk to keto here because I was at a block party last night, and one of the neighbors said she's on keto. Now, for years, she was on the low-fat diet, which I had basically told her I didn't believe in that. We need fat. And so she's done a 360, a 360. She was on the Bernstein diet. And as Bernstein is, shots of B12 and like just so little food, no fat. It's like eating cardboard and sugar to boot. So put that aside, and now she's on the keto diet. So I said, look, I love you and your son very much. I know you've got a lot of weight to lose, but I want to tell you something, and I want to tell you because I think it's very valuable. And so this is probably the first time I'm talking about it live. I've been actually kind of sitting with it. When I mean live here or live in presentations, is the fact that keto diet's been around. We got the paleo diet, you got the keto diet now where it goes into ketosis. You're burning fat, for those who do not know what ketosis is. To make fuel in the body, you're either going to burn sugar or you're going to burn fat to create fuel. And hopefully, you're not being chased by a lion, which most people feel like they are. Stress, go. That's a whole other thing. Remind me, I'll talk about that next week. But here we got these diets. Now, it's known, and it's crazy known out there, that 99 point whatever percent of diets do not work. It's not really it's a lifestyle we want to guide ourselves to, absolutely, and having the understanding of what your ideal lifestyle is with all these different flexibilities is key. And the keto diet comes in, again, it's that fuel, that furnace, that production of energy that we need. Sleeping doesn't matter. We need more if we're doing athlete elite stuff. And so we have this need for energy. End of story. That's why the benchmark I'll use in the consultations is, where's your energy? Where's your energy? And when you do this, when you don't go to bed on this time, when you get up early, when you exercise too much, like, where's your energy? And just be aware of the fluctuation of energy based on what you're doing. So here we go. We got the currency, energy, and you have to produce so much energy to meet the demands of what energy you need. And end of story, that you have that. And in keto, what you're doing, instead of burning the sugar, you're actually burning the fat. Now, I'm not going to say sugar. I mean, eating a banana, eating a vegetable, they're carbs too. So just put it down to carbs. You've got, kind of breaks down for fuel, or you've got the fats for fuel. Now, fats are very healthy, absolutely, but there's always going to be, if you've heard me talk about this quality thing, it has to do with processing, it has to do with maybe genetically modified, but it absolutely has to do with what is this food and what do you do with it before you put it in your mouth, no matter what diet you're on. And it's important, but my key thing to get back into the absolute story I want to kind of get through, And it's kind of my life in a nutshell sometimes, which is going with the flow, paying attention, and taking the opportunity to observe and ask questions when things happen. And a friend of mine, I'm not going to say a good friend, but a friend, somebody I've known for years, and initially we kind of worked together. And so she decided to go on the keto diet. But she was with a naturopath. She was with some other practitioner out of California. And she was doing all these tests. And I didn't really worry about her in that way. And I'd see her at least once a month at the Holistic Chamber of Commerce meeting. When I tuned into the situation as to what was going on, what I heard is she had this massive, massive, massive stroke. And in that process, they decided that, okay, she's probably never going to recover. And so it's just, okay, let this kind of ride and, the past, right? So I explored, I knew she was on keto. I didn't really have all of the details, but I started to do my research because keto never, how can I say it? It never hit me as a, oh, Cheryl, you've got to learn this. You've got to incorporate it. You've got to, but it just never, I'll call it a tap. I never got a tap. It just never pulled me, never excited me. But I don't mind learning about it. Don't mind having an understanding of it. But what I was tuning into is there are side effects from this keto. That's what kept popping in. There are side effects. Could it have caused the stroke? Okay, so I went on the web, I said keto and stroke, and somebody said, look, I've been on a keto diet for a year, and I had a stroke. Could there be any coincidence here? And I read all the responses because it wasn't still an ongoing conversation. I took that and I took what I studied and stuff like this. And here's the thing, my conversation, so right back to my conversation with a doctor, and she has her, medical doctor. So I explained to her a little bit, not as much as I'm explaining to you. And she said, well, my doctor has me on keto diet. And what's going to happen is before she gets to her weight, she's actually going to come off, and she's going to gradually add carbs in, so she gains a pound, maybe 2, something like that, and find the right balance of carbs and fats and proteins and all of that for her diet. And it was like, wow, that is awesome, because the keto diet was always like, oh, you could do this forever, the great energy, and people were, you're not as hungry because the fats you got enough fuel, and it's not going for the sugar, so you don't have that. So I thought it'd be a great topic to talk about today for you, for anybody else who's on keto. And here's why. I'm just going to say it now. I don't know absolute from the kind of science, but everything I know about how the body works, the importance of course, the metabolism, and we need energy. And this is my thinking. This is my theory. I'm just going to share it with you, is that when the body is just using fat, now again, we make lots of energy, right? We need lots of energy for everything. So you get down to the weight, whichever weight that is. Let's just say it's the ideal weight for your frame, for your lifestyle, for your activity. So you're down at this weight. What happens when you go beyond that and there's no fat left in your stores? So I'll say that again. What happens? What fat? Where is it going to get the fat from? Where is it going to get the fat from? You have no fat stores in your body. You've used up your fat storages because you need much more fat intake in your diet, and there's nothing there. Where is it going to come from? Here's my theory on the sense of it's got to come from somewhere. Right? It's got to come from somewhere. The sugars, the carbs, you're not having them, so you're not getting this fat being, too much sugar, too much food, and it's converting into fat. No, most people go from 3 meals and 2 snacks to just 3 meals on the keto diet, they don't feel as hungry. And it's actually better not to overeat anyway. But where does that fat come from? So here's my theory. It comes from your body, the tissues that you have in your body, even the brain, which is highly fat, and your liver, you've got your lungs. The energy's got to come from somewhere. Not to make it a scary thing, but absolutely. I mean, anybody who's actually going on keto diet, the idea is, and I mean, I'm only saying this from the standpoint, I'm saying it from, I know how certain things work, so I'm coming from that standpoint. And it's, to me, if people are getting on this keto diet more and more and more and more and more, and they're just reading books and they're just doing it, because at that same time last year, I went on and I said, okay, so what are the side effects? And absolutely, you're not eating enough fruits and vegetables to get your nutrients, because not all the nutrients are in your cooked food. You denature the vitamins right off the get-go. And depending on the supplements and depending on how much you need and so forth. So that also came up. Fiber could be an issue. It's actually too much for some, but maybe too little for some in this case. What other things? Water. You've got to, a lot of food is water rich, but that's an element when we eat fruits and vegetables, that there's a lot of water there. So that's an important piece. But I think the most important piece is that we kind of, in a nice way, share with anybody who's on keto. Wow, did you hear that? I was listening to something, and I'm kind of understanding that when you've, come to having all your fat resources gone, that the fat has to come somewhere from the body. And that even a doctor has recommended to a doctor this thing. You don't even get down to your ideal weight. And come on, people, we actually need some extra fat anyway, a little bit of cushion there for if you have a trauma, you're out with the flu for a few days, you're sick for 2 weeks, God forbid not. But these things, having some fat when you're not eating. So think about it. You go into ketosis when you're sick, on your sick bed, having a fever and stuff. You're going into ketosis. You're not eating. You don't feel like eating. You don't have the appetite. The body is dealing with whatever's going on and needs to, no food. And, the energy is going there, but you still need energy, and it will start to use up the fat. Well, what if you don't have any fat? Again, if you're down to that absolute lean skinny, they've already shown, those runway models, it's crazy. It's so depriving ourselves of our body of fat. So think about ideal weight is absolutely having some body fat. If we want to kind of think of measuring it, 7%, 8%, 12%, 16%. More of the elite athletes have below 10, but let's say 15, 16, whatever percent. It's great little cushion for all of us. So that's why I wanted to come on today, because that was so fresh, and it has been on my mind, not necessarily to share, but to get my question answered. Haven't found it, haven't asked the experts yet about it, but I think the time is of the essence. Again, it's my theory, but the theory is when you use up all your fat source, which you will when you're on ketosis, you're just using fat for your energy. What happens? Where does the fat come from if you don't have enough in your diet? Because you're eating the same diet as you've been eating for months. And where does it come from? And it's got to come from somewhere, because the other side of it is you're gonna run into other issues. You're gonna run into possibly anemia. You're gonna run into a bunch of other things. But because we're eating the beef and we're eating the fat, there's big pluses there. But I don't like to take the keto diet so lightly as going, oh, everybody's going to figure it out here. That's not why it took me a year. I really did have to kind of sit with it and explore it and see what else came. And so it was just like, okay, the cherry on the top last night was actually hearing a doctor giving this kind of protocol to my neighbor who's a doctor. So I really, if you anybody here is on keto, anybody who knows on keto, anybody that you think might be on keto, then please share it. I don't share this video, share the information. Absolutely, people can get in contact with me. Don't want to worry the bejesus out of people, but here, just having a stroke is not a good thing, but not, eating your own tissues, healthy tissues to make your energy ain't a good thing either. So I can't see how this is not going to come to light at some point. I can't see why it wouldn't. It doesn't make sense that it won't come out, but I don't want to wait for the 2, 3, 5 months, 5 years, or whatever for it to come out. I want more and more people to know about that. It cannot be a potential danger when we think about keto diet and doing it for too long, going beyond the lean, beyond the ideal weight. End of story. So I'm happy to take any questions about that, but I think that's kind of simplistic there. Kind of makes, hope I was able to get you to visualize that way, because I know my dog, if he doesn't get his food over time, would probably start, I don't know, gnawing on the chair leg or something. I mean, he'll be going to find food somewhere. He's not, and so our body would be doing the same thing as well. Also, just kind of briefly mentioning, not to kind of end out on a positive note here, but I think it's all positive, especially if people know about it. It can help them and avoid these dangers, is that this is the fall time. So it's a good time to get out the liver tea, dandelion, stuff like that, and drink some of that tea. I know this kind of, I'm saying it in a very light way, as in, you have this tea and you want to do it, but don't do it every day, as in your whole, every day of your, year here. You just take it, and for about 4 weeks, I'm just going to give you the 3 to 4 week window here. So you're going to buy a box of tea that's going to help with supporting your liver. I don't know all the different names they might have on it, preferably organic. And you just want to kind of drink a cup. There might even be instructions on there. Brew it properly, because it's not just let's just pour hot water on it for a minute. It's not that. So read the instructions. It probably is closer to 10 minutes, but it may even say 15 or 20 minutes. I like the 20-minute rule. Then you kind of drink that for 3 to 4 weeks just to help with the liver. So the change of seasons is a good time, and that's why dandelions are beautiful in the spring, because they do that. But it's not just dandelion. There's other things that help, but only 3 to 4 weeks. We don't need to be cleansing with these herbs and tinctures and stuff ongoingly. I studied the herbs for 6 months, and they call it intensive course, and I can honestly tell you I probably need to study it for 5 years to get all my questions, to have the depth of information. So 6 months I studied it for, and a lot of people are just going on the web reading about it, but it's you got to be able to pull things together that way. So cleansing, this is a good time. Even a little bit of I'm just going to leave it with that. Teas that help with cleansing, particularly the liver, for all the 500 functions that they say it does. I've yet to find that list of 500 functions, but maybe I can pull it together somewhere. But ideally, everybody's moving towards understanding more, guidance if you need guidance, and just feeling the best you can, and the limiting beliefs where, well, that's just the way it works, or that's how it happens, cholesterol is the bad guy, and all these different beliefs can be questioned. I question all of them. I've seen many doctors question them all. It's just that people don't get to see this, don't get to hear this. It's not on the marketing. It's not in, it's that's business. Marketing is business. So anyway, any questions here? If there's no questions, I'm going to end it here. I'm really going to try to kind of stick with the 5:30, but lots of things here that's going on in health. In many ways there's just no way I could even cover everything in a book. I didn't even cover the keto stuff in my book, to tell you the truth. There's just so much. One would have to write, I don't know, but how many pages? I did 350. I'd say I could easily, times 10, times 10 for everything that's in here that I've kind of uncovered through, whether it's experimenting, listening, questioning, talking to experts. Even what people experience is not usually stuff that's kind of just being put out there. I've so many times in presentations, they go, Cheryl, show me the research. I'm going, I'll show you the research. The research is, piece it together. This is how the body works. And then, then try it. And then you'll see it for yourself. So many aspects of what we're doing in our lifestyle can be tweaked. The biggest thing is just how many people are on computers these days, to tell you the truth. That is such a big thing, to be on computers and what's happening there. But maybe that'll be for another conversation. So if there's any, thanks, Ivan, I will have myself a good day. So everybody have a great week. Next week, live at 5. We'll come on if you want any topics, anything that comes up, questions. I get the notices anyway, so we can cover that off. If you want to talk, 15 minutes, just free. Just talk, ask me any questions, and we'll see what's going on there. So take care, everyone. Have a great week. Bye for now. Best of health. Take care.
Did a package come in for me? Because it's saying that it was delivered.